Welcome to Golden Speakers Toastmasters of Fairfield, Iowa. Now in the community room or club room at the Hy-Vee. This is March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's. Don't worry, none of us are hungover. You'll have a stellar show tonight. Please join me in warmly welcoming our club president, Rhonda Whitaker.
Thank you, Cindy. Cindy is our Sergeant at Arms. She's a glorious Sergeant at Arms. Knows every bit of information about this club that's happened in the last 17 years. Now, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home, welcome. You may wonder what we do here at Toastmasters besides brag and clap. We do give out trophies to people who win. The trophies are a one-week loan. It's like a marketing tool. We like to have you take them home and put them on your desk at work or on the dash of your car, or just set them in the kitchen so your significant other can compliment you. The purpose of the club mission is to create a positive and safe learning environment which empowers each and every individual to develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Yay! Well, I would like to get right into the meeting tonight. We have Jean Symington Craig as our Madam Toastmaster. Jean, could you please come up?
Yo!
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, nice guests back there. Over there too, we're swarming with guests.
Oh, wow!
You all come from, you want to just ask them to say a little bit where they came from quickly? Or?
Well, sure, because I didn't even see them here.
Okay, I mean, really, it's, why don't we start over here? I remember you from last time, yes.
Yes, my name is Naya Baral. I live in the 5th grade.
Great, and you're here, someone invited you, you just came? Because you saw something? What brought you here?
Oh, I wanted to make myself a little bit repute of reply.
Okay, very good. All right.
My name is Beth Alonso. I was here once before and brought some Rotaractors this time. Last time we had Interactors. This time we've got some Rotaractors here from the Rotary for college age students. We're here, we want to learn about public speaking, so learn something from you.
Great, thank you, Beth.
My name is Don Brathwaite. I'm a recent graduate. I'm part of the Rotaract, and just here trying to get better at public speaking.
Yo! My name is Samira Abdulrahman, and as the rest of them, I'm also from the Rotaract Club of Fairfield, and I'm interested in Toastmasters and seeing what it's about and learning more about public speaking.
Great.
My name is Samantha. I'm a current student at MUM, and I came along with the other Rotaractors, and I've also heard great things about you guys from fellow friends. So, thank you.
Hey, great. I know you just came in. Would you like to say your name and what brought you here?
It's okay.
That's perfectly acceptable. Sometime you might. Roberto, are you a member yet? Or are you still checking us out?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So tell everybody what your name is and.
My name is Gilberto Rodriguez, and I've been here for it's my 3rd or 4th time coming. So I'm thinking of becoming a member and doing the program.
All right, well, thank you, guests. We're going to go right into our meeting tonight, and as a Toastmaster, I'm going to introduce our role players, and our first role player will be our timer for the evening, Cindy Traynor.
job of the timer is to help speakers in all the roles and in all the parts of the meeting to stay on track. The first event will be table topics. It's a 1 to 2 minute impromptu speaking. Green turns, we got this really nice handy dandy gadget here. If I can get it to work. Green turns on at 1 minute for table topics. Yellow turns on at 1 minute and 30 seconds. And the red will turn on at 2 minutes and stay on until the speaker is finished. Actually, people will go over time if they speak more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will politely begin to applaud to let you know that it's time to exit the stage gracefully. For our speeches this evening, Louis has a different time than you see.
6 to 8.
6 to 8. Our speakers this evening are 6 to 8. And in that case, Louis will get the green light at 6, the yellow light at 7, and the red light at 8 minutes. And of course, it'll stay on until he finishes speaking. And I hope he doesn't go beyond the 8-minute, 30-second. Our next speaker is Rick Starr, and he is 5 to 7 minutes. The green light will be on at 5, the yellow at 6, and the red light at 7. Speech evaluations have a shorter time. They have 2 to 3 minute speeches. The green will come on at 2, the yellow will come on at 2 minutes 30 seconds, and the red will come on at 3 minutes. And again, if you go beyond 3 minutes 30 seconds, I will begin to applaud. And then, to cap it all off, I will give a short report at the end, hopefully shorter than this one.
Our next role player is our odd counter, Karen Aoki.
Good evening, co-speakers and honored guests. It's my pleasure tonight to keep track of all the filler words that we use. So, that includes like, you know, any of your own pet filler words. I also keep track of pauses, Xeroxes, or repeating yourself, and false starts. And I'll give a brief report at the end.
And our grammarian, Art Atkinson.
Good evening, Toastmasters. My role tonight is to, as grammarian, watch for good and hopefully no bad use of the English language, and maybe to offer suggestions for correction. The other part of my role is to look for particularly wonderful phrases, figures of speech, and note those in my report at the end of the meeting. The third part of my role is to have picked, and it's on the whiteboard behind us, pick the word of the evening. Since our spring theme called for a spring-like word, we have the word verdant, which is an adjective, or verdantly, an adverb, meaning the lush greenness of plant life. And the sentence that I cooked up to demonstrate that would be, anticipation of verdant gardens and Iowa fields makes it easier to live through the last few weeks of Iowa winter. Hopefully this is a shared sentiment. I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Yo!
Madam Toastmaster, point of order. There is no table topics evaluator on the...
No, it's been decided.
I want to make sure that there will be one.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We're good. Speaking of, keeping on track with his role, is our general evaluator, who we'll be hearing from later, Stephen Harper, noting some key absences possibly, make sure that's covered. Our greeter and our joke master is going to be Scott Terry, and we will also hear from him later. But let's give him a hand for a greeting. And our ballot and ladder leader counter is Dan Craig. Dan, do you have anything to say on this?
No.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and start our table topics portion of the meeting, and I'd like to invite up our table topics master, Will Burns.
Yo! Hi about that. Good to be up here. My name is Spring. Welcome Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home. In the spirit of spring, with new, verdant beginnings and a dusting off of timeless ways, I have selected a number of different types of table topics. Now, they're a little different, but some things will remain the same. I will ask for volunteers. Guests are welcome to raise their hand. And I will ask you for a number from 1 to 5 to start. You will have 30 seconds to think about your answer, and you can segue or dodge the question entirely. With that said, do I have a volunteer? Come on. Okay, number between 1 and 5.
3.
3. Okay. Pick a partner. Somebody else from the audience. Sam. Come on up. I seem like a pretty active guy. You seem like you're, you like to be outdoors a lot, right?
I like being outdoors.
Good.
Not lately, though.
Okay, this is a table topic called Talk and Gesture. So I'll have you speak about the topic while your partner performs the actions as you articulate the actions of rock climbing. Can you do that for me?
Yes.
Talk about rock climbing, how you would do it. If you don't know, just make it up, and she'll be able to follow along with you hopefully.
Okay, that's all?
That's it. All right. Rock climbing. Thank you.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home, today I'm going to speak to you about rock climbing, the art of rock climbing, the performing of climbing different steps in order to accomplish being at the top of the mountain, be it indoors, be it outdoors, whatever you prefer. Maybe it's too cold like it's been lately. Then you just go indoors, you could go to the recreational center. Over here, I don't believe they have rock climbing, but we do have one at the MUN Rec Center, and you could go in there. But however, the Verdun weather is going to permit us to be outdoors and be able to enjoy climbing every single rock. You know, first, it's a rather simple thing. You get your harness, you make sure that you're nice and tight and ready to go, and then you start with the first step. You know, you could use your left foot, left hand, right hand, or your mouth, I don't know, or whatever, you know, like, whatever's easier, whatever allows you to get each step, and then you just kind of find another support from either the other foot or the other hand, and then you just keep climbing on, you know, and you just keep moving forward, and there's going to be times where you're going to get stuck, and you're not really going to know, and maybe it's a bit too far up, or a bit too low, or a bit too much to your right or to your left, and you just don't know. Sometimes you may be in really awkward positions and not really knowing what to do at that point. But you just take a leap of faith and you just go for that other piece of rock and you just climb on. And you reach the mountain and you feel amazing. And then you can jump off and do it over again. Or you could just take a nap, you know, and just enjoy the sun sunbathing and have an amazing rest of your day, because rock climbing is already that much fun.
Okay, next volunteer. Seth, come on up. I see your enthusiasm just brimming there. 1 to 5.
1.
Okay. This is a special occasion. I want to kind of get more practical uses out of
Okay.
topics.
All right.
So, imagine that you're at a wedding
Okay.
and you need to give a toast,
All right.
like a Toastmaster.
Yes.
Go.
Boom.
Well, I'm glad we could all make it here today. So good to be with you all. Yeah, I've really been enjoying the buffet and. Whoa. Anyways, that's what I was going to say. We've all known Will for quite a long time. What a guy. Let's give him a hand, huh? Now, Will and I in college. Boy, that was some crazy times. We're not going to talk about that right now, though. You know, Will, I got to say, a lot of ladies are going to be disappointed that you're off the market. I just want to acknowledge you with a quick toast here. To Will Burns, a guy who is never at a loss for words, and if you're worried about hearing him in a room, don't, because you'll hear him when he talks. And that's all I had to say about good old Will. Let's hear it for Will, come on! Come on up here, buddy. Come on, man.
Plenty of time. So who's next? Come on up. Nelson. Okay. C. We got 2, 4, and 5.
4.
Okay. I want you to imagine that you're like the press secretary. You're going to be like the spokesperson here. And this actually is a participatory activity for everybody, because you will ask for questions from the audience, and we'll start with one question. One question from the audience.
Okay.
And then
Anyone have questions?
What's the occasion?
What's the occasion?
I mean, set the scene for us.
okay, this could be, we'll say this is government. So you can imagine like local board of supervisors, you can imagine like the president, foreign policy, domestic policy, energy.
Who'll be the president?
Boom, president. There you go.
Thank you, Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. I'd like to make this meeting, this presentation or press conference more enjoyable. We're going to get a little closer. And I want you to ask the most personal questions that are really affecting you right now, in this day. Because I know the times are really hard and our budgets are really tight, but we're going to persevere. So I'd like to hear from you guys and ladies. What are your thoughts? What is pressing you right now? Any questions? Any statements? Anyone want to raise their hand?
This spring in Texas, armadillo fatalities are up 31%. What can we do to help?
Those poor armadillos. You know, we need them in our ecology for sure, because they are a very important part to the whole system. And I know for a fact that a lot of the environmentalists are working on that, and they're working really hard, you know, protesting and trying to get more money for for programs like this, and so I'm pretty sure that this is going to be taken care of. But thank you for your question. Any other questions? Don?
Water consumption is down 10% in Fairfield.
Consumption?
Yes. Is there any way that we could remedy that?
Yeah, absolutely. Consumption of what means?
Water.
Of water.
Water in Fairfield.
Absolutely. Water is so essential, you know, in our community. We need water. We need also clean water at that. So it's very important that we, as a community, start working together. And I'm initiating a plan of action for everyone to join in and just start talking about this topic, because we need to find solutions. And solutions I know are near in our minds. Thank you for your question, Don. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you have any plan for us to grow our own food and get something off our taxes if we feed our family ourselves?
We do have something in the pipeline, a subsidy for people that are growing their own food. So great question. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is compost. And so we have a good core group in this community making compost just for families and community members to grow their own food. So if you're growing your own food, you will receive a credit directly to your taxes, if you do your taxes, mind you. So I applaud you if you do, and support you to continue to do your taxes. Thank you very much.
Gene, still good?
I think this is a good. I think this is okay. Yeah, go ahead.
As many as you got.
Okay, we got two more?
Probably not. Maybe one. Maybe one.
Yeah, we got one more. You could choose A or B. Scott. Yes. Okay. Where were you born?
Chicago.
Okay. I want you to set the record straight here. What are perceptions that people have about your place of birth? Be it Chicago, be it Illinois, or the U.S. They just flat out is not true. It's complete misconception. The media, everybody's blowing it out of proportion. Set us straight here.
Okay. Welcome, Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. There's a number of misconceptions about Chicago. Number one, Abe Lincoln is not in Chicago. He's not walking around the streets. I know people think he is still. Rick thinks he is. He's not. He's not. There's a lot of people with the hats on, but they don't really exist. There's a lot of delusional people in Chicago. That's the truth of the matter. So when we start thinking of other dimensions of Chicago, like the dead people vote, that part's actually true. When we think about that Mayor Daley really did run the show, he did, but there's big Mayor Daley, then there's a little Mayor Daley, right? Mayor Daley 1, Mayor Daley 2, and then there's Daley 3, which you don't know about. He's a really tiny little guy. He's like, well, the problem is, as I said, the water is a bit polluted there, and people are a little delusional. So they tend to see things that don't really exist. Another myth is that the wind is so strong in Chicago it will blow you away. The truth of why that exists is because people have to wear parachutes. They wear parachutes because it's the only way to get out of the buildings. You're laughing at that, but it's true. You've never seen the fires. I'd like to ask a question to the audience. Who would like to know some other truth about Chicago? One quick question. Yes?
Is it the best shopping ground in America?
It is. It is indeed. The reason is, what is it you want in Chicago? Tell me one thing you really want.
Clothes.
Clothes for the purpose of?
Covering my body.
And if you drink enough of the water, clothes dissolve there. It's really, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, the water turns green. Delusion. Thank you very much. I look forward to
Now it's my pleasure to call up our Toastmaster.
Call up, ask the timer.
Want to vote? Yes.
Timer.
Let's do some voting here. First off, did all of our table topic speakers qualify?
Yes, they did. Everyone qualified, and their names are Luis, Seth, Nelson, and Scott.
Yeah. And we're back. And now let me get our Toastmaster back up here.
No.
Let me
Tabletop.
step back here. I will call up our table topics evaluator, Seth Braun.
Yeah. Congratulations again, man. I really mean it. You know, it's really a wonderful time in your life. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, we have 4 speakers. I'm going to begin with Luis. Luis, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. The subject was rock climbing, and Luis did a fine job of jumping right in. He just, boom, he took it. There was no hesitation. He was talking about climbing the mountain, and he was moving. And then all of a sudden we had this other thing going on here where we had someone acting out the movements. And your name is?
Samantha.
Samantha, that's right. So Sam was up here, and Luis did a great job of giving her an opportunity to move. First you start with the left, then the right, then the mouth. How many like that one? Wasn't that nice? That was very creative. I think the only piece that I would suggest, instead of using and, I would just pause. Use the left, use the right. Now you're getting hot, and now you want to lie down. So if you have an opportunity to, if you want to think, just stop. It's okay. Just look. You can just look at the audience for a second. Word. Do stuff like that. Make gestures. Random movements. No, don't make random movements. Mostly I like the willingness to say yes to the moment and jump right in. Seth came up here and spoke. I think, Seth, you should either go for the character or not. I mean, are you going to be a drunk guy at a wedding? Because if you were, you really needed to go for it. It was a little non-committal. So commit next time and really go for the character. But kind of funny. Nelson, press conference. What I liked about Nelson was rolling with the topic and just jumping right in, no fear. Like, I'm the presidential, that's it. Let's go. Come on, what are the questions? And just hitting it and having an answer for everything. Even if the answers weren't fantastic every time, the point here is that he just rolled. And some of the answers were quite funny and interesting. The feedback for you is be willing to pause when someone doesn't speak right away. Does anybody have questions? Does anybody have questions? Does anybody have questions? Just go, does anybody have questions? And then give someone a good stare. Like, how about you? Don't be afraid to put the audience on the spot there and let them be a little uncomfortable. You did a great job being statesmanlike. You took on that characteristic of press conference statesmanlike. Finally, Scott. Well, talk about delusional, huh? That was pretty interesting. You hit right into some great humor. I think the humor was right on. I believe that as a Chicago native, you took the liberty to speak bluntly about your experience of being a Chicago native. Just a show of hands, do you find that kind of humorous? Scott's? Tom's? Yes. I think the only piece that you could improve on is moving deliberately. You seem to just be doing what I'm doing right now. Kind of pacing around with no real intention. So you have the opportunity to say, come back to one area of the stage to make a point that's, as I said, delusional. And then, remember I told you delusional? It's like that. Because at this stage of your speaking, you could be working on that. And that's all I have to say. Turn this meeting over to our Toastmaster. Yo!
Just a note for the club. Somewhere I'd like to clarify pauses. We have pauses on our odd counter. It's like that's a negative.
Yes.
We've just heard a lot of recommendations to use pauses. It's also in our project number 6, how to say it, I believe, or vocal variety. Both of those. Pauses are not negatives. So I just want to, somewhere officers, I think we need to revise the odd counter report to delete that, because that continues to be a source of irritation for me. And Seth just confirmed, and we've just determined that pauses can be very pregnant, pithy, and desirable. All right. Moving into our prepared speech section of the meeting, we did have a last-minute cancellation, and just one more comment as a Toastmaster and someone who happens to live with the VP of Ed, that unlike all the other roles, if you have signed up for a speech and then you cancel on a speech, particularly at the last minute, there's really not a chance that we're going to have a fill in for you. So really, obviously things can happen very urgently, but try not to let it just creep up on you and then all of a sudden bail because you just didn't prepare. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we'll get that out to everybody too. So we have a little extra time. Our first speaker, moving along, is going to be Louis Denbaum, and his evaluator is Stephanie Chambers, and Stephanie's going to read the objectives for Louis's speech.
Yep.
And we welcome Stephanie.
Louis is giving a speech tonight. Louis Denbaum is a relationship coach and educator. In addition to relationship coaching, Louis is presently bringing communication skills, stress reduction techniques, and executive coaching to businesses. Louis is the co-author with his wife, Diane, who you will know, of the book Madly in Love Forever, A Guide to True and Lasting Love. Louis has been a resident of Fairfield since 1996. He and his wife, Diane, have a blended family of 5 young adult children. Tonight, Louis is working on speech number 2 from the Speaking to Inform manual, and the objectives for this speech are to analyze your audience regarding your chosen subject, focus your presentation at the audience's level of knowledge, build a supporting case for each major point using information gathered through research, effectively use at least one visual aid to enhance the audience understanding. And the title of the speech is EFT, Can Something So Simple Be So Effective? Please welcome Louis.
Good evening, club members, all of you wonderful guests and viewers at home. Pardon me a minute, I have to finish something that I forgot to do before. I'm back. I had to finish my emotional freedom technique tapping. Looked a little weird, strange, very unusual. Tonight, I would like to talk to you about the benefits of emotional freedom technique, where it comes from, and how to do it. How many of you have heard of acupuncture? Good, almost everyone. Can I have a volunteer? I'd like to stick a needle in one of these. Actually, acupuncture is a Chinese medicine system where the acupuncturist works with the meridians, the energy centers in the body. In 1962, the very first English translation of an acupuncture textbook was published in the United States. Psychologists, psychiatrists, and researchers were fascinated where they can finally look at an English version textbook. But they realize, we put so much time into getting where we are already, becoming a psychiatrist and a researcher. We're not going to take all this time to learn how to put needles in 528 spots in the body. But what if we could actually just tap on those points or rub on those points? Would that be beneficial? And to their delight, it turned out to be beneficial. And so over the next 30 years or so, many psychiatrists and researchers developed protocols for using these acupuncture points to tap on them or to rub them to create benefits for people. And in 1995, a man by the name of Gary Craig came up with the most simple protocol, and he named it Emotional Freedoms Techniques. And it has expanded greatly since 1995 with hundreds of thousands of people practicing the technique. Now, what benefit can you get from doing this strange thing? A man by the name of Dawson Church had the idea, to spread EFT or something like it, we're going to have to get research results. And in order to get research results, you have to have something, a procedure that's set in stone, so that every time you use it, it's the same in all of the experiments. So he took EFT and he made it clinical EFT and put together a manual. And since then, over 20 experiments have been done on these types of issues: anxiety, athletic performance, depression, pain, phobias, PTSD and traumas, weight loss and cravings. Now, one of these is very interesting, I think, or should be to all of you here: anxiety. They actually did an experiment with public speaking anxiety. Ha! They got 36 people who admitted to having public speaking anxiety, and they measured that before, during, and after a 45-minute EFT treatment. And then they observed them during a 4-minute speech after that. And guess what? The anxiety went down after a 45-minute tapping session. So if any of you are still getting nervous, you might want to try using EFT on your public speaking anxiety. Many of these are incredibly powerful. They have found that 6 tapping sessions with veterans who have done a tour of duty overseas, they've eliminated PTSD in 6 tapping sessions. Phenomenal results on very deeply seated traumas, phobias. There are people who have been afraid of snakes, and they do a tapping session, and then you see them holding this big, huge snake and petting it and saying, oh, this is kind of nice, actually. What have I been missing all my life? So it's just a very powerful technology to overcome lots of illnesses. Now, I'd like to give you a very brief description of how you do EFT. And in order to do that, I need to talk to you about points on the body. The one point that's not on here is what we call the karate chop point. It's the area where you give somebody a karate chop, this fleshy area between the bottom of the pinky and where the wrist starts. Karate chop point. The other points are the top of the head, the eyebrow point, which is where your eyebrow starts and where it hooks up with the bone of the nose, bridge of the nose. The side of the eye, there's also a bone over there that you can feel. Under the eye, there's also another little bone there that you can feel. And then under the nose, on the chin up over here, collarbone, and under the arms. Those are the tapping points. Very simple. And after you do it 2-3 times, you won't forget them. So here are the five steps to doing the very basic EFT procedure. Step number 1, pick a problem you want to work on. Tonight I'd like to focus on pain in my right knee. Okay. So that's the first step, identify the issue. The second step is to rate it subjectively on a scale from 0 meaning there's no pain, no issue, 10 meaning excruciating pain, can't move. So if I tune into my pain right now in my right knee, I'll give it about a 5. Halfway between no pain and excruciating pain. Step number 3 is to develop what's called a setup statement. The first half of the setup statement is an acknowledgement of the pain or the issue, and the second half is self-acceptance. And you tap on the karate chop point 3 times while saying the setup statement. So that would be, even though I have this pain in my knee, my right knee, I deeply accept myself. Even though I have this pain in my right knee, I deeply accept myself. And even though there is pain in my right knee, I deeply love and accept myself. Fourth step, tap on the rest of the points by just bringing to light the pain. So it would be pain in my right knee. This is pain in my right knee. 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 There's pain in my right knee. Pain in my right knee. Pain in my right knee. And now finally, the last step is reevaluate. Okay? I think it's about a 2. So folks, tonight we've looked at where EFT comes from, what are the benefits, and how to do it. Now I ask you one last question before I sit down. If you can get rid of some of those deeply seated issues that you've had for your whole life, wouldn't it be worth looking silly for a couple of minutes? Madam Toastmaster.
Very interesting talk. Very good. Our second speaker of the evening is Rick Starr. Rick is an expert on mice. I have heard a number of talks from Rick on mice. Are there any that are going to run through verdant fields by any chance? Sometime. Anyway, looking forward to this. And Rick's evaluator is Monty Condon. So Monty, would you give us...
Thank you, Gene. I'm evaluating Rick Starr's speech tonight. His speech tonight is from the storytelling manual. This is an advanced manual that you get after you complete your company communicators project. So Rick is doing storytelling number 3 from the Advanced Communication Manual, storytelling. The purposes of this project is, number 1, to understand that a story can be entertaining, yet display moral values. To create a new story that offers a lesson or a moral, and to tell the story using the skills developed in the previous 2 projects. The title of Rick's speech is A Man or a Mouse, and it's going to be 5 to 7 minutes long. Rick?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. It was a typical day in heaven. St. Peter sat at the welcome desk at the pearly gates. There was a long line of newcomers waiting to get in. St. Peter said, "Who's next? Step right up. Who's next?" "Yes, sir. Your name?"
John Smith. Welcome, John. We were expecting you. Give me a minute while I go through your paperwork, John. Name, date of birth, yada, yada, yada. Looks like you're good to go, John. Oh, wait a second. One thing's missing. Qualification. What qualifies you to be in heaven? John, what have you done to be in heaven? I don't think I've done anything. I'd better go. Nonsense, John. Everybody's done something good in your life. What about when you were young, when you were a kid going to school? Did you study hard? Were you a good student? No, I wasn't a good student. I barely made it through high school. I didn't even go to college. It's okay, John. Not everybody goes to college. There must be something else. What about business? Were you a good businessman? Did you make a lot of money? Were you successful? Did you donate to charities? Is that how you help people? No, I didn't make a lot of money. I worked at McDonald's. I hardly made any money at all. I couldn't even afford a car. I had to walk to work. That's okay, John. That's okay. We'll think of something. What about your family? Were you a father? Were you a husband? Were you a devoted family man? That would count. No, I wasn't married. I didn't even have a girlfriend. I was too shy to talk to girls. John, you gotta help me here. I haven't got all day. Look at this line of people. I'll never be out of here by 5. And John, they hate to pay overtime up here. Think, John, think. There must be something. Well, maybe there was one thing. One time I was in the park all by myself reading a book, and I saw this motorcycle gang. And they were the biggest, hairiest, ugliest, meanest looking guys I've ever seen. And they were riding their motorcycles around and around this young girl, and they were scaring her. So I said, "Stop it! Stop scaring her. She didn't do anything to you." But they didn't stop. They just laughed at me. So I went up to the leader of the motorcycle gang, the biggest, ugliest, meanest one of all, and I yanked on his beard, and I punched him in the nose, and I pulled his earring right out of his ear. That's what I'm talking about, John! That's good! You helped that girl, you protected her. John, you're in. One more thing, John. When did this happen? Well, just about a minute ago. So the moral of the story is better to be a man for a minute than a mouse for your whole life.
Yo!
Now let's take 2 minutes to evaluate Rick. Back, well, we've had some really good speeches tonight, very informative and very entertaining both. Now to conduct the evaluation portion of our meeting, please warmly welcome. Oh, wait, before we do that, we have to vote because we do have 2 contestants. Timer, did both of our speakers qualify?
Unfortunately, neither one were flush and verdant. Neither one qualified. One was under, one was over.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait. What am I looking for?
Rick qualified, sorry.
Rick qualified.
Rick qualified.
Okay. So everyone knows, you know, we do have a different lighting system now. Everyone's getting trained to keep an eye on the light that's up there front and center. Good, good. Okay. Well, we don't have to vote. We do have a winner that we will be able to talk to later. All right. So without further ado, we will invite up our general evaluator, Stephen Harper.
Thank you. I have the joy of being the general evaluator for the meeting tonight, which means that I evaluate the evaluators. And I get to speak last. And if you've ever gotten the last word in an argument, you know how good that feels. Okay, so first I'd like to invite Stephanie Chambers to evaluate Lewis's talk.
Yo!
Hello, Toastmasters, honored guests and viewers at home. I think we all learned something tonight, having heard Lewis's speech about EFT. We even got to find out what EFT stood for. Freedom?
Emotional
freedom. Well, I'm still learning. Part of the process of learning is repeating what you've learned. So that was fun. So it was a very informative speech, and as this is from the manual on speaking to inform, that was very appropriate. I liked the way Lewis had various things on the Butcher's paper which were very clear and easy to read, which made it easy to understand some of the main points he was covering in his speech. In terms of things that possibly he could think about a little bit when he's giving the speech again, if he decides to give the speech again, I thought that maybe on the Butcher's paper you could have also covered the steps, the 5 steps to actually using the technique. And just to satisfy my own curiosity, you could have maybe talked a little bit more about some of the research that has been done on the technique and how long you have to do this for. I mean, you talked at one point about 40 minutes before the person gave the talk in terms of anxiety and public speaking, but maybe you could have said, well, how long you actually have to tap these points for. It's just a little point. I think it was an interesting talk, and you made it appropriate to the audience, which was part of the objectives of this speech, by using good examples, like the example of the anxiety for public speaking, which of course, all being here as public speakers, we can all relate to. So that was good, and also your use of humour made it more interesting for people. But I would be a little bit careful about using humour in this instance, because having been a skeptic myself of these sort of things sometimes, people can be a bit skeptical, and if you use too much humour, it can actually weaken the argument by making it seem a little silly if you go too far. And I thought maybe a balance of some fun examples, but maybe the snake was a little bit too far in the humour vein, where maybe at that point you should have been getting a little bit more serious with the examples. So that was my only word of caution. But otherwise, it was a very informative speech, and your use of the methods of using a visual display were effective. And it was very clearly explained, and you certainly informed us of a lot of the history of this method, which I wasn't aware of. So it was a great speech, and I'm glad we got to enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. And now I'd like to invite Monty Congdon to come up and evaluate Rick Starr's speech.
Rick. There you are. Viewers at home, I loved how you opened up your speech. It was a typical day in heaven. Just by that statement, by saying, you knew that what was coming after was going to be anything but typical. Great beginning, you set up the setting, typical day in heaven, went right into the characters. There's St. Peter, there was John Smith, and you set it up like it was a work day. And we could visualize that. Very great visuals. I really enjoyed that. I also liked how you didn't have any visual aids, but you essentially took the stage and you made it as part of your visual aid. As one character spoke, you were over here. When another character responded, you were over here. I thought that was very well done. You also had good vocal projection. And there was vocal variety. There was pauses. You changed your voice a little bit. When you were John Smith, you're a little bit more of the mouse. You're a little bit more timid. You got into a little bit of body language acting. I thought that was very well done. My only advice there was that you could probably commit to it to a little bit more. You could tell that what your intention was, and that was good. But try to make the voices even more different, or even the body language more pronounced, as far as, St. Peter could be regal. And John Smith could be even more timid. Maybe you can have his lip quiver if you want to really get into the acting. To quickly go over some of the points that you're being evaluated on for this project was, how did the speaker capture and hold your interest? Well, first off, the intro. But then just the dialogue back and forth. That's really sort of what drew me in. It's just how you use the stage back and forth. And that just drew people more into the story, because you had to visualize the character change between your two characters. You had action. You had the motorcycle story. And going back to the motorcycle story, part of the evaluation for this project was that there needed to be a twist. And I liked how you used a story within a story to be the twist, because you had your character tell the story, and then the twist came right at the end, and it tied in very well to your moral, which was better to be a man than a mouse your whole life. So well done, Rick.
So now, I would like to evaluate the meeting as a whole. No, I would like to invite everyone to vote for Best Evaluator, including Seth Braun, the Table Topics Evaluator. Oh, Cindy, did everyone qualify?
Yes, everyone qualified.
Great, thank you. So please vote for one of the three evaluators we had tonight. Seth Braun for Table Topics, Stephanie Chambers on Lewis's speech, or Monty Congdon on Rick Starr's speech. There you go. Okay. So, Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, I'd now like to evaluate the meeting as a whole. I thought this was an excellent meeting. I liked how Cindy opened with use of humor right away, and Rhonda followed her up with a great joke as well. We had some very fun and interesting table topics. Thank you very much, Will. The first evaluator was Seth Braun for the table topics. And I liked what Seth did when he used his own arms to describe how Louise was using his arms for the talk about the rock climbing. He got out here in front and did all of this stuff exactly as Louise had done, and I'm sorry, I forget your name. It's
Samantha.
Samantha, thank you again. As Samantha did, and he very purposefully stood where Louise stood, and then when he was talking about Samantha, he went over and stood where she stood, So this is intentional use of the stage. This is something I'm practicing now because I need to practice it. I don't use it very often, but very good stuff. Good example. Then you had a very humorous self-evaluation, which I thought was appropriate and brief, thank God. The suggestion you had for Nelson I thought was excellent. Pause. When you don't have somebody asking you a question, you need somebody to ask you a question as part of your speech. Pause and stare. That was great. Good use of showing an intentional pause as opposed to a pause that is an awkward pause that is really a filler. So there really are two different kinds of pauses. And then when you talked about Scott's speech, you also demonstrated his not moving intentionally. He was kind of wandering around the stage like I usually do. Okay, then Stephanie. You evaluated Lewis's speech very well, I thought. You mentioned that it was informative, that he had very good visuals, which he certainly did, and it was very informative. You made some suggestions for improvements, such as more research, and you sandwiched that in between compliments, which is always a good technique for giving good feedback. You mentioned that he used humor, and I thought that Lewis used it very well. It's an extremely humorous speech. I was particularly struck by the one where he asked for a volunteer so that he could stick needles in them. That really, I think, got everybody's attention. I don't know that I didn't hear you mention the 5 steps that Lewis set out. I found that particularly helpful to have that list and that organization where he had the beginning introduction. He told us what he was going to talk about. He went through it in a very orderly fashion and then summarized at the end and had yet another joke at the end. So I thought that was something you could have mentioned. Also, you didn't mention something that I picked up on was Lewis has fantastic eye contact. Does anybody else notice that? He looks right at you until you look back and you know that you've got like a personal relationship with him there in the seconds. So, Monty, you opened up with humor, which was great. You talked about how Rick set up the stage with the people in the 2 different spots, and you used the stage very intentionally to identify where he stood for each character in his talk. That was very good. You talked about his vocal projection, which was good, his acting, which also was very good, and you gave suggestions for improvements that I agreed with, to overact or increase the acting more. I mean, not overact, but increase it. And you mentioned on the story with a twist. I thought that was very good. Personally, I would have liked your story to be longer and for you to have included more jokes because I was enjoying it so much. I didn't hear that much in terms of additional suggestions. So I would beef that up a little bit more if you can find a way to do that. All in all, I think this was a fantastic meeting. And I want to thank you all.
You're not done.
No, we have...
You have reports to do. You missed that section.
We have reports.
All
I'm supposed to do that, huh?
Oh.
Okay. Excuse me. Cindy, may we please have the timers report?
Table topics. Louise spoke for 2 minutes 20 seconds, Seth for 1 minute 2 seconds, Nelson for 2 minutes 30 seconds, and Scott for 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Lewis's speech was 6 to 8 minutes. He actually spoke for 8 minutes and 43 seconds. And Rick, who had chosen 5 to 7 minutes, actually spoke for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. So he's within that 30 seconds early business, so that's why he qualified. Table topics evaluator of Seth, he spoke exactly 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And our speech evaluator, Stephanie, spoke for 3 minutes 18 seconds, and Monty for 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Thank you very much. would you like to give us the Sounders report?
I'm going to have the final say on the pause thing.
This doesn't come up.
This is how I actually agree with Jean, because we talk so much about the use of pause. So whenever there was a pause, I either counted it as like a Xerox or a false start, because really, when you're using pause incorrectly, you can tell that somebody's kind of trying to find their words, and there's usually something audible there. So I took the pause out, and it's either Xerox or false start in my book. Alright. It was a fairly clean evening. You had Rhonda, Cindy, Scott, and Rick. I put them as clean. Maybe they had one or two, but it really did not disrupt the talk at all. So, excellent. Seth and Stephen went first place for most filler words. Stephen, you're still using the ah, much better than usual, but you go up to the ah.
Aha!
Mostly I feel like you get going in your speed and you use the ah as kind of a break. And I noticed that with Seth too. He used the ands as sort of a break. These are people who really get revved up. Otherwise, Monty, Lewis, Nelson, they had, a little bit of ahs here and there, some Xerox false starts. Not too bad though overall. That's my report for the ah counter.
That will teach me to do the evaluations before the counters report. I'll never do that again. Okay. Art, would you please give us the grammarians report?
Tonight, Verdant was mildly popular. Gene definitely used it. And I think one other person used it. Who was the other user? I apologize. I missed it. What I noticed tonight was good use of English. I did not take down any notes of improvements on use of English, but I did make my notes of memorable phrases. Luis talking about rock climbing and the necessity at points to take a leap of faith. I thought that was mildly, if not wildly humorous, or just jump off. Seth, who was never at a loss for words, saying, and that's all I have to say about Will. Nelson saying, we need those armadillos. And if you do your taxes, mind you. Scott telling us that dead people really do vote. And the whole distinction about pauses. And Gene suggested that the pauses that are pregnant are acceptable. And so I'm saying, well, what kind of other pauses are they? Are they sterile pauses? Lewis, pretty memorable, saying, wouldn't it be worth looking silly for 5 minutes if you could get rid of an issue like one of these on my list? Rick saying, they hate to pay overtime up here. Now, Stephanie, this gets more into evaluation. You used the phrase, maybe do this, maybe do that, maybe do this other thing. I would suggest that you say, I recommend that you do less humor if you want to seriously make a point, or I believe that using that much humor undercuts your ability to make the point, rather than saying maybe. And Monty, I really like the use of the word regal to describe the difference between St. Peter and John Smith. That's my report.
For a moment of humor, I will remind everybody that I will be coming back up in a moment to ask for 2 weeks from now. It's 2 weeks from now, we are going to have our club contest, and I will be looking for volunteers. What?
Area
contest.
Area 92.
Area 92. We don't want to be Area 93 because that would make us in the wrong section. We've moved. We're not moving. We're in 2. 92, not 91. Got it. I will be asking for volunteers, so start thinking for a moment what you'd like to do. All right. What do you get when you cross an agnostic, a dyslexic, and an insomniac?
Ha!
A student.
An armadillo.
Close.
Therapist.
A person who stays up all night wondering if there really is a dog. By the way, I did look for spring humor jokes. Terrible, terrible jokes. And then yesterday was Irish St. Patrick's Day. The Irish jokes are either racist or unclean or... Thus, we are going to a different realm. Descartes walks into a bar. Descartes, remember, everybody remember Descartes? Walks in a bar, the bartender asks if he wants a drink. I think not. Descartes says, and then he disappears. Past, future,
Dun, 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 dun.
past, present, and future walk into a bar. It's tense.
All right.
And now, since we have done all of the evaluating already,
Point of order.
Dan, yes?
Thanks.
Right now, we're supposed to get a reminder about Facebook.
Yes, I will be doing
Do it right now.
Do it. Oh, do it. I'm reminding you about Facebook. Sign up for Facebook. Nelson, you sign up for Facebook now.
No.
I'm on Facebook.
There you go. And for Toastmasters, and like us. Like us. Dan. Dan wants to be on Facebook.
Comment on us. Comment on our
Comment. Comment on us. Like us. Share with us. And be on Facebook for the rest of your life.
Okay. I'd like to invite Jean Symington Craig to come up and present the awards.
Final word on pauses. This is on an evolutionary scale. Just imagine swimming prehistoric in the ocean. That is when you're using filler words all the time. That's your stage of evolution. You're in the water. Now, the first steps up onto land is when you start realizing that instead of putting in filler words, you don't say anything. You pause. You get points for that. Okay. Now, where you don't get points would be that if you had maybe practiced your speech or practiced or gotten a little smoother, you wouldn't have to have a pause there. But it's not a filler issue. It's maybe a practice issue. It's maybe a little more coherence and orderliness in terms of organizing your speech. But a pause at that level, you're crawling out of the ocean, is a good thing. In fact, we should probably clap when someone pauses rather than does a filler word. However, now as you're crawling up on land and you start standing upright, that is when you have pauses that are pregnant, pithy, add emphasis, really add to your speech. They're not just trying not to put in a filler word, but they're actually serving a purpose, which is also what Seth was talking about. Okay? So, ocean, filler words. Crawling up on the beach, pause, no dings. No dings because you're evolving. You're not doing filler words. And then the pause, the active, proactive, pithy, pregnant, desirable pause is when you're standing up and you're a mammal and the dinosaurs are doomed. All right. Is everyone clear on that? There is something about having the last word. Who said that? Okay, so ready to have our awards. Let's start with our best table topics. Go! Now, neither you are members, correct, at this time? This is something you are going to consider, right? Because I will give you this as an incentive, so you can go, now you're going to have to share it.
We'll get a second
Don't
for
share
it.
it. Okay, and this is the trophy. If you take it, you need to bring it back next week. But this could also be a reminder to you how much you want to join this club. Yeah, so you can decide yes, no, oh, we
All right.
Want to take this?
Okay.
That's very great. Are you coming back next time? Okay, so you just look at this all week. Okay. Then we had our best speaker, Mr. Starr. And then our best evaluator. Monty. Great time was had by all. I'll turn the meeting back over to our Madam President.
Yo!
Thank you, Jean. Excellent job. I like the teaching points you brought out tonight, emphasized for us so pithily. We have a chairman for our Area 92 Spring Contest. His name is Scott Terry. He is here tonight to ask for people who are interested in playing roles in the contest. I'd like you to help me warmly welcome
Everybody.
Scott Terry.
Yes.
I'm devolving. I'm pausing and devolving. Ballot counters. I need 2 to 3 ballot counters. 1 to 2 sergeant-at-arms. 2 two-timers. 1 chief judge. 5 to 7 judges. 2 to 3 registration tables. Refreshments.
Can you clarify, was that 2 timers or a 2-timer?
2 timers. 2 timers. Yes, Dan.
Judges, you'll need to get some from other clubs. Is that right?
If they send up anybody.
Anybody? Yeah. So obviously, we're going to try and fill as many of the roles as we can here. But if they're coming and they're bringing people, then we will graciously go to other roles.
Your job is to inform them.
What?
Your job is to inform them if they send a contestant, they have to send 2 people.
So I need to find. Okay, Don Level, I've got Colin.
Don Wadley's working on it.
Oh, he's working on it. So we'll see what he comes up
usually
with.
responds first. If he doesn't respond this week, we will contact him again and we will start seeking people ourselves.
Okay, so let's see whoever we can seek and then. Okay, refreshments.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And somebody who's going to be in charge of organizing refreshments.
Cindy.
Cindy. Great. Set up so we need a committee head, and we can also set up file holders for role players, and as well as I can either do the contest master or Toastmaster, or if somebody really would like to do it, okay, I'll do it then. And will we be doing? Will there be a speech thing? So will we need a test speaker?
It's only in the fall. We're only doing international and tabletop.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So let's go down the list. Who would like to go? Let's start with judges. Judges. All right. Stephanie. Okay.
Have you done 6 speeches, Stephen?
No.
Then you're not qualified.
Okay,
I'll be
Dan.
an unqualified judge.
Unqualified judging. Dan. All right. Cindy. Will.
I can judge.
You done 6 speeches?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excitement.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to free yourself from any spiritual disciplines you may have. We're trying to be you can really judge people.
Wow. All right.
We should have somebody to be judged from another club.
Okay. Yeah, I would like.
I draw if we get someone.
Okay. Okay, Chief Judge. Chief Judge?
Any of the lowest.
Take some preparation.
Timers. 2 timers. Wait, 3, 4. 2 timers. I need a chief timer and a backup timer. Timing.
All right.
You can't do judging and timing, can you?
He's not a judge, he's not qualified.
Oh, all right.
I'm the member I replaced.
You replace.
He'll be a timer.
Okay. Okay. Any other judges? Sergeant at Arms?
Well, somebody else.
Monty? Second Sergeant at Arms if we need it?
Yes, we do.
Sergeant at Arms, Second Sergeant at Arms.
We'll try and get one from another club.
Ballot counters. Simple job. You're going to do ballot counters?
We need 2, I believe.
2?
right?
Yes.
Someone from
Nelson?
another club.
Okay, yeah.
I could do it if we don't get somebody. but-
Well, we got
I can drop it if you get someone else from another club.
Okay.
That makes it fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Representation.
And just like judges. And so we could always shift you over to timer, back time or something.
Sure.
Sure. Registration table, greeting people. That anybody can do, Nelson.
I can agree.
Okay.
Please.
Louise. Okay, refreshments. Who would like to be? Cindy, you're going to be in charge of organizing refreshments. You're going to do that next week. Committee head. Who would like to be committee head?
Tell them what they got to do.
We've got to set up file folders for all the role players and organize.
Somebody be great for the chairperson.
That's you.
That's the contest.
I'm an organized guy. I would love to do that. I think I'll vote for me.
Now, you could ask for someone to assist you with that.
I would like an assistant. Assistant? Yes, an assistant.
I nominate Seth Broad to assist.
I nominate Seth Broad to assist me as well. Who's that?
Unfortunately, I don't know. I'm a speaker for the. I don't know if there's a conflict of interest there.
Not setting up.
That's just copying pieces of paper.
And you're so good at that and have so much time on your hands. I think you'd be the perfect guy. Is there anybody else who'd like to do the assistant role as well?
Can I get an assistant?
Can Seth get an assistant? Okay. All right.
Okay,
Right. I think that's about it.
Scott, that means you also need to come up with the table topics question that's going to be
Yes.
used for
Well,
the-
that's Toastmaster. Contest master,
And that's
Toastmaster. It's 2 things. Yes. That's why I was.
And you might maybe bounce it off a couple people to see if
Yes.
this can be refined or whatever.
Okay.
It's important.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else I need to do, or is that?
Not at this time.
Next
I
week.
think that's pretty much it. Next week.
Scott?
Fill it in.
Yes, Scott.
Toastmasters, it's time to call it a night. I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting until next week at
Second the motion.
7:35. Motion is second, motion passes. Oh,
Yay.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposed, say nay.
Done.
Adjourn.
Hey.